Imagine being tall. Now imagine being taller than that. No, even taller. Okay, now imagine being taller than every person you've ever met. Robert Wadlow grew to a height of 8 feet 11 and 3/4 inches, the tallest man who ever lived. 9 months before he died in 1940, he made a visit here to Lewiston, Idaho. Hi, my name is Matt Baney. I'm the managing editor of the Lewiston Tribune, and this is episode number 51 of the Lewiston Tribune podcast. Today I'm just going to tell you a story about Robert Wadlow, the Alton Giant, the tallest man who ever lived, and how he came to visit Lewiston 9 months before he died. At birth, he weighed a perfectly normal 8.5 pounds, but almost immediately he began to grow faster than all the other kids. He was 4.5 feet tall at the age of 2. He reached 6 feet when he was 8. He was 7 feet tall at 12. And he just kept growing. Less than a month before his death, he was measured at 8 feet 11 and 3/4 inches and weighed 493 pounds. He had a condition with his pituitary gland that made him keep growing his entire life. Doctors were able to diagnose the problem during his lifetime and told his parents there was a somewhat risky procedure that could correct it, but they didn't want to take the risk. So Robert just kept growing his whole life. I first learned about Robert Wadlow in the Guinness Book of World Records, and his appearance was striking, not just because he was twice the size of just about everybody else he was around. In just about every photo of Robert Wadlow, he's wearing glasses and a suit and tie. There's an air of classiness to him, even in those old black and white photos. And his personality matched his appearance. Everyone who knew him said he was a gentle giant, always kind, always giving, rarely angry. By all indications, he had a pretty normal childhood. He was a good student, involved in activities, and played sports as a youngster. I saw one old video where his high school's athletic director said they didn't let him play basketball because they were worried he would get hurt. Or maybe they couldn't find shoes that fit him. It was a little unclear in the video. But can you imagine someone 8 feet 4 inches tall on the basketball court? In 1936, he toured with Ringling Brothers Circus, making appearances at Madison Square Garden in New York and Boston Garden in Boston. But he only agreed to appear in the circus's center ring, not in the sideshow. And he wore his normal clothes, not the top hat and tails the circus wanted him to wear to accentuate his height. In 1938, he started going on a promotional tour with the International Shoe Company. That company made special shoes to fit him, size 37. Robert, his father, and a representative from International Shoe Company made stops all over the country. It was during that tour that Robert Wadlow came to visit Lewiston, Idaho on October 3rd, 1939. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any photos of the event that have survived till now. The Tribune covered his appearance, but in the paper, it ran an Associated Press photo of Wadlow that had been taken elsewhere. It's hard to say why the newspaper didn't have photos of the event. But according to the story, Wadlow's appearance at the Golden Rule store at the corner of 5th and Main Street, which is now the present-day location of Town Square, drew a crowd estimated between 3,500 and 5,000 people. And this was on a Tuesday afternoon from noon to 1 p.m. The Tribune story talks about how the reporter had lunch with Robert Wadlow and his companions. And the reporter asked him, "How does it feel to be the tallest man in the world?" And Robert Wadlow said to the reporter, "How does it feel to be as tall as you are?" His point being that he was always used to being the tallest man around, and so it just seemed normal to him. The story also points out that, quote, contrary to expectations, he ate a roast veal entree with the normal amount of side dishes, unquote. Robert Wadlow's only splurge was an extra piece of banana cream pie. While Wadlow resisted being a sideshow attraction, he did have a sense of humor about his height. He told the Tribune reporter he was from Illinois, where they grow corn tall, and he said he ate lots of spinach like Popeye. During the lunch, many people asked to shake his hand or have him sign autographs. The story notes that when he handled a pencil, it looked like a match. Wadlow soon left Lewiston and made many more stops on his tour, but on July 4th, 1940, he took ill. It turned out he had an infection caused by a sore on his ankle that was the result of the braces he wore for support. He was treated by doctors and had a blood transfusion, but he didn't recover. On July 15th, 1940, Robert Wadlow died. He was only 22 years old. Doctors are now able to safely treat the condition that Robert Wadlow had that made him grow so tall. That means that it seems unlikely anyone else will ever grow to almost 9 feet tall the way he did. Even 85 years after after his death, Robert Wadlow casts a long shadow. At Ripley's Believe It or Not locations, including one in Newport, Oregon, there are life-size figures of him. And at Pike Place Market in Seattle, one of his giant shoes is on display. I've been interested in Robert Wadlow ever since I first saw him in the Guinness Book of World Records. But the more I learn about him, I realize his class and dignity are just as impressive as his height. And that's all for this week's Lewiston Tribune podcast. You can find the Tribune podcast at our YouTube page at lmtribune.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. We have a new topic each week, so be sure to come back next week for another new topic. And we'll see you then. Bye.